Well, guys, it's Clinical back again with another one. You don't know where it go. Wagwan, where I deal with, why pre, up top, blessings. You don't know the thing go. Now, as you can see in the title, we have the UCL preview against Real Madrid. This game will be taking place tomorrow, and the time will be, as you probably already know, for American time, that will be 3 p.m., I believe, and 2 p.m. Jamaican time, and 8 p.m. UK time. Yeah. Any other time zones outside of that, you have to do that little calculation there yourself. You see me? But I do have some points I want to speak on. I do expect to play some two matches or so in this, but I do want to speak for about half an hour or so about this game and give my thoughts ahead of this game, and then afterwards we can feature the journey back to Division 2 or Division 3, I believe. I'm not entirely sure where I am right now, but hopefully we'll get there. Big up to anybody tuning in right now. Much appreciate you being here. If you haven't already, just drop me a one like on the video. That much appreciate that. And also drop me a subscribe. I am 2 subscribers away from 50. Big massive milestone for me, and would I really much appreciate your support on that. So be a part of the journey, I understand. But ahead of this game, this is a massive match. Real Madrid is one of the powerhouses in the world of football, consistently one of the best teams in the world every year. So nobody is really surprised that this team that is again in the semifinals of the Champions League. And for those who remember, last year we did face them in the semifinals of the Champions League as well. And we beat them in the first leg, and we suffered a crushing defeat in the second leg in the space of, I would say, we lost the game in about 2 minutes. Like, for up until like the 90, not 98, like the 88th minute, we had that game unlocked. But after that point, Real Madrid took complete control in their yard, the Bernabeu, and they wrestled at the game from us, and they brought it to extra time, in which they sealed the winner in extra time as well. So that wasn't really what we were hoping for last year. We really thought that we would get to back-to-back finals, but it isn't always to be. So sometimes it is like that, and you just have to keep pushing and keep moving. And now we find ourselves here in this position, back in the semifinals of the Champions League once again. And as such, same opponents, same stage. This time the roles are flipped. We are playing at the Bernabeu first, and then in the second leg we'll take them back to the Etihad and finish the business there. Now, in terms of what to expect in that upcoming Clash of the Titans in the game tomorrow, I think we have a very big job on our hands, and I'm very glad that we played Bayern Munich before this in the quarterfinals, because that again was another big massive job on our hands, and I think we handled that absolutely magnificently. In the first leg, we had them at the Etihad. We beat them 3-0. We handled our job. We had our goal just before halftime. It was very back and forth. Before then, both teams were defending absolutely brilliantly. But a wonder goal from Rodri, this man here, opened up the scoring, and that was absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen it, weak foot at the edge of the box, chop up Musiala and just put it top bins. Summer had no chance in saving that, absolutely none. I do think that will go down for one of the goals at the tournament. He will definitely be in the rankings for that. And that's where we went into halftime. 1 goal up. I think Bayern would have taken 1-0, but we did not ease up there. We definitely did not ease up there. Haaland went on to assist Bernardo Silva in the second half, and he had his back heel opportunity from Jack Grealish, and Haaland could have shot it, crossed it over. Bernardo Silva heads it in the back of the net. Later on, I think Bernardo Silva again set up Haaland for his first goal of the game and Manchester City's third goal of the game. So brilliant play all around from the team, or attacking players, as well as, well, honestly, that in that Bayern Munich match, our entire team played absolutely well. And in the second leg, I think it was more of the same, but we were a bit more pragmatic and more defensive. They needed a win. They were trying to overcome a 3-0 deficit. We knew that, so we didn't really give them any opportunities. Their one goal in that 1-1 draw came at the end of the game, and I do think it was an undeserved penalty. I think Manuel Akanji should feel very, very hard done by that. I don't think there is much he could have done about that handball decision, and the handball rules in Europe and UEFA are definitely weird and somehow different from the rules in the Premier League. I don't know why there isn't like an international like football rule that IFAB have that every league and competition has to follow. I don't know why, but it's just one of those things. But now we're here, we find ourselves past Bayern Munich, and now we are here against Real Madrid, and we have so many rival fans. You have Liverpool fans out here just got for them beaten by Real Madrid 5-2. They're rooting for Real Madrid. We have Man U fans who don't want us to do the treble rooting for Real Madrid. And we have, I think, even I'm not sure about Chelsea fans, but you definitely have a lot of fans out here not wishing us any favors. They want us to end this season trophyless, and we out here are the only ones on our side. Aside from the Barcelona fans that want to see Real Madrid lose. I don't know, big up yourself, Barcelona. But we are in a position where we are doing this for us, not for anybody else. After we got our charges slapped on us, accusations, allegations slapped on us, it was just us against the world. Everybody saying, oh, we're guilty, even though only thing we have been is accused. We haven't even been tried. But, everybody is claiming that we are guilty. So clearly nobody wants to see any light for Manchester City aside from Manchester City fans ourselves. So we just need to keep that in mind and know that we need to shame them with our success. And I think that is the best way for us to operate. Now, how we can do that is to get past Real Madrid. And just to throw back a little bit before I start speaking of this game, previous what I say, previous campaigns in the past, we had, I would say, weaker run-ins to the title. I do remember the year that we got to the final. We had faced Bayer Mönchengladbach in the round of 16. We beat them. That was a good team, by the way. Not because they weren't one of the favorites in the competition. That was definitely a good team. I enjoyed that game. They definitely had a lot to do in that game as well. So big respect to Mönchengladbach. And then after we beat them, we moved on to not Bayer Leverkusen, Borussia Dortmund. Played against Erling Haaland and Jude Bellingham. We had a slightly tougher game, but we definitely grinded out our results and we got into that game. That was definitely tougher than the Mönchengladbach game, but we kept Erling Haaland scoreless. I think he assisted the only goal that they scored across the two legs. And after that, we faced PSG in the semi-finals, in which, again, that was a tougher game than the Borussia Dortmund game. And you see the consistent progress in terms of difficulty leading into the games. So we are on our toes. Bayer Mönchengladbach is a team that we are expected to beat. So when we beat a team like that, the next step is like, well, we can't be looking at Borussia Dortmund like a Mönchengladbach, even though on paper we are expected to beat this team. So we need to still be switched on. We need to make sure that we go out there and we get the job done first and foremost. No room for slip-ups because we need this semi-final to get to the final. We beat Borussia Dortmund. We have PSG now. The same exact scenario. Still more difficult than the previous round. Still have the job to do. No room for slip-ups. Chance to go to our first ever final. We've won our progressive games before, knowing that we have to stay switched on. And we got past PSG. I think the first leg was 2-1. That was a really good result for us. And then in the second leg, I think the second leg was at the Etihad for that one. We beat them 2-0. And they didn't even get to score. So I think that was a brilliant display from us. I think Zinchenko in those two legs was absolutely amazing. And then in the final, we had Chelsea. Again, I think in that year, PSG was a better team than Chelsea per se. And I do think that in itself, plus the fact that we were in our first final, got to our heads a little bit. and we kind of messed up our opportunity to claim our first Champions League trophy in our first ever final, in which, you know, it's kind of taboo in a sense, like no team has ever won their first ever Champions League final before. I genuinely thought we could have been the first team to do that. But moving on now to this year, we have Real Madrid again. Last season, it wasn't pretty. This season, I'm not going to use the R word, but we have an opportunity to correct that and get to our second ever Champions League final, in which we will play one of the Italian teams from Milan. So I will be watching how that side of the bracket goes as well, but what's really important to me is who we are facing on Tuesday and next week on Wednesday. Yeah. So this Tuesday and next week Wednesday, that is my focus. And from what I have seen from Real Madrid this season, in their last rounds playing against Chelsea, in their last match playing against Osasuna in the Copa del Rey final, Vinicius Jr. is this. Vinicius Jr. is this for them. He's absolutely key to their offense. Now, that being said, if we can quiet Vinicius Jr. in this first leg at the Bernabeu, I think that will be a massive step to us getting a favorable result in this game. And I see some comments coming in. Give me 1 second to check that. Big up to Phil Foden. I appreciate you being here. Just breaking down a little bit of my thoughts on this UCL tie coming up tomorrow. Massive, massive game. And I cannot lie. I'm a little bit worried. But I'm more confident than I am worried. But I am aware that I'm a bit worried. I'll take a draw away, home we beat them. I agree. My prediction, I'll get to my prediction soon enough. Let me not give away my prediction right now, but I definitely agree with that. But Vinicius is where I think is the most important part of their offense. I think he has a constant green light. I think most of their attacks go through him. So they try to play down his left-hand side, and he has that confidence whenever he plays to know that he has the beating of his fullback every single time. Like, he will give them hell. He'll run at them for the entire game. Like, his stamina is insane. Like, you can't really read what he's planning to do. He'll go inside. He'll go outside. He'll use either foot because he just has that level of confidence and that level of ability to go with it as well. This is my predicted lineup. Obviously, before I stream tomorrow, when the lineups release, you'll see the actual lineup that is out. And, you know, I'll play a couple of preview matches just before, you know, leaning into the actual match. So I expect it to be this lineup. I think the only change that could be made is Phil Foden on the right for Bernardo Silva, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we'll more likely see Bernardo Silva start and then Phil Foden come on as a substitute in the game, because I think Phil Foden has a better chance of beating Camavinga than Bernardo Silva does. But I do think that Bernardo Silva fits the system and the game plan that we have been using for the UCL so far more than Phil Foden does. And Phil Foden isn't exactly in his most scintillating form at the moment either. However, the last time we did see him in that best form was playing on that right-hand side. So I think he will definitely have a role to play in this game. I think him and Alvarez are the first two subs that we should expect to see come on in the game as well. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on that right side in terms of Pep's decision tomorrow. But I do fully expect it to be Bernardo Silva. If you actually go back to that Real Madrid game last season when we played them, I think we played them at home first. I think that's the game that Kyle Walker played. So I think, if I remember correctly, he missed the Atletico Madrid second leg, or he got injured in that game, and then he came back for the home leg against Real Madrid, and he started the game. He played so well. You know, everything was just flowing. I think every single matchup that he had with Vinicius Jr., he had him on absolute lockdown, except bar one. Like, I remember Vinicius getting past him once, and it didn't lead to a scoring opportunity. There was help from Ruben Dias, I believe, and Vinicius was unable to capitalize from that. Later on in the match, unfortunately, Kyle Walker re-aggravated his injury and he had to be withdrawn. So Fernandinho slotted into that right back spot, and we all know what happened from there on with Vinicius Junior. And I think Fernandinho started off absolutely well in that match. Like the first thing he did when he came on, everyone was worried like, oh my God, Fernandinho versus Vinicius, he has no pace and all that. He intercepted the ball from him, went straight up the line, and assisted our next goal. I think that was our third or fourth goal, and I was like, yo, I apologize. I was not familiar with your game at right back. So I had to give him his props for that, but he did absolutely get spun by Vinicius when he scored their second goal too. So you have to take the good with the bad, and I'm not sure if we had a much better alternative than putting Fernandinho there either. So seeing that Kyle Walker is fit now, and we do remember 2 years ago when we played against PSG at the Etihad, he had not even just at the Etihad, he had Mbappe on lock in both games. Like in the Parc des Princes and at the Etihad. Mbappe did not get a sniff against Kyle Walker. He definitely knows how to handle players that have this type of play style that feel that base their game mainly around their pace and as well as their trickery. Because if you look at Kyle Walker, his two best attributes are pace and defensive ability. So he's a good matchup for players that try to execute their game in that type of way. So, oh my God, don't remind me about that nutmeg, man. And it was so bad because when I watched it back, like Vinicius had his teammate drill the ball at him, and then he didn't touch it. He just like had his back against Fernandinho, and the moment the ball got to him, he just spun off him, and then the ball just went straight to his legs. He didn't expect it. And what's funny is I've seen Vinicius since then. I've seen Vinicius do that move so many times. He did it so many times to Reece James in the quarterfinals, and I saw him do it again against Osasuna yesterday in the Copa del Rey final. Was that yesterday? I think that might have been the day before. I'm not entirely sure. I think it was Saturday. Yeah, I think it was Saturday. But I've seen Vinicius do that exact same move so many times. So I think that is something we should expect to see him try again tomorrow, and I'm definitely keeping an eye out for that as well. Um, Backline of Fernandinho, Diaz, Laporte, and Zini. Yep, that's exactly what we had, and I still think that is not the reason why we lost, why we didn't do as well as we wanted to in that leg. I think that we had the opportunity to put, like, the moment Fernandinho came on, that game could have already been 6 goals for Manchester City or 5 goals for Manchester City. But Foden and Mahrez specifically Riyad Mahrez, you have, as much as Maretia, you have blood on your hands for that game, because the amount of chances that we created, and even Jesus, like chances that should have gotten put away, and I was just there like, wow, that was unlucky. But after a point, like, it stops being unlucky and it starts being like, we have to put these chances away. This is Real Madrid. This is, with all disrespect, this is not Chelsea. Chelsea, possibly, we could get away with that, like creating 50 chances and scoring 4 of them. But this is Real Madrid. If you create 5 chances, you need to score at least 3 of them if you want to have a chance. Because I think them conceding a certain number of chances and then watch us not finishing them, like, boosts them. Like, they'll look at that and get motivated. Like, you know what? They're not scoring. We can beat this team. We're Real Madrid. That's the type of mentality they have. So we can't be out here playing with our dinner, per se, and not putting these chances to bed, knowing that, we need to get past this caliber of team. We need to, like, if we got past Real Madrid that year, I have no doubt that we win that Champions League final against Liverpool. I have no doubt that we beat Liverpool in that final. That's how I felt about that match. But spilt milk, no use crying about it. No, it's past, and we have to look back at that, watch the game again, and see what we can learn from that, to know that these are the mistakes that we made then, and these are the steps that we need to take now to correct and learn from those mistakes. So I think in the long run, we should be turning that negative into a positive. And I much appreciate everybody that's tuning in, all the viewers that are here. I much appreciate you being here. I'm seeing 5 viewers live right now. each one big up on yourself. Feel free to join Phil Foden in the chat. Again, appreciate you leaving me messages, Phil Foden. And do hit that like button. I much appreciate that. And leave me a subscribe. I'm still 2 subscribers away from 50. Big milestone for me. I would really like to get to 50 today or tomorrow in the Real Madrid game. That would be absolutely amazing. But moving on from Vinicius, on the other side, I think Rodrigo is just as dangerous. Well, let me not say that. I think Rodrigo can be just as dangerous, but Vinicius is obviously better than him. But they're very similar in the type of role that they play for Real Madrid. He's very pacey, and on the ball he is deceptively good. Like, you'll probably think that his touches are a little bit worse, but he holds on to the ball so well, and his manipulation of the ball is absolutely like commendable. Like, every time I see him, I'm like, wow, this guy he's going to be a mainstay in that squad. I remember the first time I saw him, it was a Champions League game, and he subbed on, or I think he might have started a game actually, but he got a debut hat trick in the Champions League, and I was like, where do Real Madrid keep finding these guys? Like, it's like a Brighton scouting system. Every new kid that they bring in just happens to be a star, and he just hits it off. Like, this is absolutely mad. But Rodrigo, he has definitely earned his spot in this Real Madrid team. I think he'll do similar to Vinicius on that right hand side, but I think he's more direct than Vinicius does. So he'll be more of a goal threat per se. Like, he'll be linking up with Benzema. Like, when Benzema is dropping deep into that false nine role, that hurricane role, and he's like distributing and not in the box finishing, I think Rodrigo is more of an outlet to him than a Vinicius is in terms of getting that final pass off and somebody killing it off. So what I've seen from them this season, Rodrigo is that killer inside the box, drifting in from the right side and coming in to stop that goal home. So those two players, that front line is what I'm mainly looking at as like danger people in the squad. And a lot of people will have majority of their focus on Benzema and Vinicius, and I think that is part of the reason why Rodrigo flourishes so well in that team, because he doesn't get that same level of respect or focus as the other two guys do. So his role is a bit, it goes under the table a bit, but it's definitely very, very dangerous. So we need to be aware of all 3 of them. Akanji is going to be the one going up against Rodrigo, but I do think that from what I saw against Kingsley Coman in that second leg against Bayern, that Akanji can do it. He went up against Coman, he went up against Sane because they were switching around, and he did well against both of them. So I do think that he has the backing of himself to know that, he's going to come at me in a similar way. How is Everton 2-0 up against Brighton? This is absolutely mad. But I'm definitely keeping an eye on this game. This is crazy. This is absolutely huge for the relegation race. Where was I? Yeah, I'm not sure where I was. That completely made me lose my train of thought. But personally, I know I touched on Phil Foden a little bit in what I was just saying. What I want to see from Phil Foden, if he is to come off the bench, is I want to see basically that effect that Rodrigo had when he came on against us in the Bernabeu last season, when he just subbed on, scored 2 goals, took it to extra time, and he was then seen as the difference maker in that entire tie just because of that one moment. That's what I want to see from Phil Foden if he is to come on at the Bernabeu tomorrow. I know that he has a similar ability to come on, inject that pace into the game, be absolutely direct, go at Camavinga like several times over. I'm expecting a similar performance to what he had against Newcastle at home when he had just come back from his leg injury that he had against Man United. That directness, that trickery, that speed, that clinical finishing, shout out to me. That's the type of energy I want to see from Phil Foden tomorrow if he is to come off the bench. I don't want to see him come on for Grealish on the left. I want to see him come on the right side where he's on his preferred left foot. He has that, I'd say, more trust in his right foot than a Riyad Mahrez would. So he has that ability to go down the right, like straight down the line and cross it in with his right. He has the opportunity to cut in on his left and then go on the right, and he has the opportunity to drive into the midfield, staying on his left foot and even like create from there, cross it in, finish. He has the opportunities more so on the right than he does on the left. So I want to see that from Phil Foden tomorrow. I think Haaland can make our difference. All those chances that we had for Jesus and Mahrez in the first leg, I hope that he puts them away because we absolutely need him to. I don't want to see similar finishing from him that he had against Leeds because that will not cut it against Real Madrid. That reminded me so much of that first leg against Madrid because that first half against Leeds on Saturday, we created a lot of chances. Haaland could have genuinely had 4 or 5 goals against Leeds on Saturday. So I need him to be on his absolute best. I want him, if he gets 3 opportunities unfairly on him, I want him to score all 3. I'm not even saying 1 or 2. I want him to score 3 of 3. He gets up for Champions League games. I see a slight difference in his performances in the Champions League versus in the Premier League. And I want to see Champions League, UCL ringtone Erling Haaland tomorrow. Just like what we saw against Leipzig in the second leg at the Etihad, that's the type of conviction I want to see from Haaland tomorrow when he has that ball in a shooting position. Because he has to be our difference. A big benefit that we have from this game is that we rested a lot of players against Leeds. So Ruben Dias got a full rest. Rodri got a full rest. Stones got a full rest. Bernardo got a full rest. None of these players played except Rodri, who came on for 2 minutes to watch us waste time at the corner flag to see out our result. So I wouldn't even say that he really got on to play. So I'm counting that as a full rest personally. I understand if you would not want to, but I count that as a full rest. And all of these players are going to come in fit. KDB, obviously, he didn't play against West Ham in the week. So he had his little bit of an injury scare. He played against Leeds and he was absolutely amazing in my opinion. He created so many opportunities. I saw him fighting so hard for that couple assists that would help him break the assist record. But he created 2 or 3 chances for Haaland. I think he created a chance for Gundogan as well that he didn't finish. And in opportunities that I see De Bruyne normally shooting, I saw him passing instead. That told me that he wanted to get that assist record. Even like opportunities where he had the chance to play it out wide to Grealish and he didn't. He instead, tried to thread it through the middle for Haaland. That told me that he is trying to get that record because Grealish wasn't necessarily in a shooting position. And even though that was more clear and, 2 or 3 players were blocking him from Haaland, he still tried to squeeze it into Haaland, who was in a shooting position. That told me all I needed to know. But Champions League now, he's not after any assist records in the Champions League. I know that any decision he's going to make is going to be the best decision he thinks that will help us win the game. And I do think that this will be a game of transition because Real Madrid are at home. They want to create a certain amount of opportunities. I do think that they'll play fairly pragmatic, but they will have it in their mind that, oh my God, Leeds are 3-0 up away to Brighton. Something just said, hold on, look at the screen a little bit. I think that was a deflected goal, but this is absolutely massive. I think if they win this game, especially since Leicester lost earlier today, this is a big, big step for them staying in the Premier League this season. This is absolutely mad. But yeah, I do expect to see Kevin De Bruyne at his best. He might not have been at his scintillating best against Leeds, seeing that, he did miss a few training sessions. He didn't play against West Ham, stuff like that. But the fact that he had such a good performance against Leeds told me that with those minutes in his legs, we can expect to see top performances again from Kevin De Bruyne in the Champions League, paired with Champions League Erling Haaland and the rest of our front line, who I will get to in just a short period of time. Actually, let's touch on that right now. So, Kevin De Bruyne, we know his role in this team. We know that Real Madrid will be trying to get the ball out to Vinicius. We know that a lot of their gameplay is based on pace, but it's mainly for their front line. Then, so their midfield, their defense, usually, they have a semi-high line, but they aren't exactly, bombing up the wings with both fullbacks like a old-time Liverpool would. It's mainly pace based, especially on their wingers. Most of their opportunities come down the wings rather than in the middle, and I do think that we'll still have an opportunity to make this a transition game. Because if we can win the ball back high up with KDB and Haaland high up top, Grealish and Bernardo Silva as a supporting help, a little bit further behind them, similar to what happened against Arsenal when we played them a couple of weeks ago. I do think a similar opportunities might arise for us to make this into our transition moments and get a few clear-cut opportunities created. That's what I'm expecting to see from the game. Gundogan against Leeds, we know that he's coming off 2 goals. He had that penalty opportunity to make it a hat-trick. That would have been great for him, but I do think mainly he'll be focused on his 2 goals. He even broke 2 records in the last game. So I think he had recorded the most touches in a Premier League match and the most passes in a Premier League match. Higher than any other Premier League player has ever done before. So big congratulations to Gundogan on that. My legend. But 2 goals against Leeds coming into this Champions League game. He'll be buzzing. I expect him to help Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri and Stones control that midfield with that box. Gundogan against Carvajal, that is for me the key battle I'm looking at from our perspective. I think Carvajal is their weakest point. I don't think he is a weak player for them overall, but in terms of the grand scheme of the Real Madrid team, I think he is their weakest link. So if we can get Grealish to run at him, pull him apart, and create opportunities from that left-hand side, opposite to what Vinicius is doing for them, I think that is our best bet at getting something created in this match. Even if it is to create from there, get the ball inside to Kevin De Bruyne for him to then pass it, and Grealish gets a pre-assist, I do think that's a massive opportunity for us to get something created from them. I think Grealish should have the beating of Carvajal every single time. Every single time. And again, I didn't even mention Grealish is another one of those players who got a full rest. So I fully expect him to come back bursting into form. I think he was good against West Ham, and overall he's been in really, really good form over the last few weeks. So Grealish should have full rest with all the work that he does, dropping into the midfield, helping out Akanji on that left-hand side, or Ake on that left-hand side, alongside Rodri. Grealish should have full rest. Any team is worried about that. And if you're not, you haven't been watching Manchester City this season. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that for free. I'm keeping an eye on Luka Modric. As we all know, Luka Modric is a top tier player. Let me not say I've always rated Modric. I've always rated him fairly, but what made me realize that he is actually on that top world class level, like one of the absolute best in his position, is that World Cup run he had with Croatia. Like, I still don't understand how people are saying he didn't deserve the Ballon d'Or for that year. I understand if people thought that Messi deserved it more than him, or even Cristiano deserved it more than him, but to say he didn't deserve it, I wouldn't agree with that. I would say, like, if Messi had won it that year and not Modric, I wouldn't be complaining, but I'm definitely not complaining that Modric won it either, because he had an absolutely amazing year. And like and since then, like, his level has not even dropped. Like, I've not seen an average performance from him since then. Like, he's so good. That's all I can say. Like, he's absolutely good. I wish I got the opportunity to watch him in a City team, but that's never gonna happen. Yeah, gem of a player, but he has been injured for the last few weeks, and he did feature against Osasuna. I think that was his first match in a little bit for Real Madrid, but he only came on for about 10 minutes in the game. I didn't get to see that last 10 minutes when he came on. Unfortunately, my laptop was dying, so I had to just start the game. I didn't get to watch it. But Luka Modric, I don't expect him to start against us, seeing that he only has 10 minutes of football in his last few games. I think he got injured maybe 2 weeks ago. So if he does start in this game, I do think that's an opportunity for us to capitalize on because our midfield area in this formation with Roger Stones, Gundogan, and De Bruyne in that box, I don't think you want an unfit Modric coming in against that. I don't think Chouameni, like being as one that doesn't retain the ball as well, is a good option for them either. But I'm very curious to see like how their midfield matches up against, or especially if they force Modric to play. I think it might be better for them to bring him off the bench again, or if they had given him more minutes in the Osasuna game, or maybe he's even fine. Like I said, I didn't watch his 10-minute cameo in the Copa del Rey final, so maybe he is fine. But I'm just keeping an eye on what they do for Luka Modric. Um, this season in general, I do think it's been building up for a moment like this. I remember when we played against Newcastle earlier in the season. I think this might have been our third match of the season at St. James's Park, and that game told me that this Manchester City team is different. The way I think this is different is that in previous years, it would be easy to say that Manchester City is one of the best pressing teams in the league, up there with Liverpool, in my opinion at least. Our press was immaculate. We had several players pressing the ball. Bernardo Silva would be in that midfield area, and he'd be just an absolute live wire. Same thing as Phil Foden. Obviously, Jack Grealish wasn't getting that much game time. We also had Raheem Sterling. His pace from up front was sensational. And when Jesus was playing, again, that's a whole nother level getting added on in terms of our pressing play. Now, even Kevin De Bruyne, like he would be running up and down the pitch. He'd be in the box, at the edge of the box, winning challenges. He'd be up at the end of the field, like creating again. Like he was everywhere. But now this season, we weren't exactly pressing as aggressively. We were playing aggressive football and trying to keep control of the game, but we were a lot more pragmatic in our way of controlling games. We tried to control games in a different way. So you see words like pause are getting thrown around. That I think has been the main focus of what we have been trying to achieve this season from Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. So our team, I think that is a result of losing in the semifinals, how we did against Real Madrid. So now Pep Guardiola has learned from that and decided, you know what? We can still win the league playing more pragmatic than we were in previous years, and it will also give us a better run in the Champions League. If you look at our previous Champions League runs, playing exactly how we play in the Premier League over the last few years, you would see we concede so many goals. Like the year that we played against Monaco, we conceded 5 goals to them, I think, or 6. I think we lost the tie 6-5 on aggregate. No, I think it might have been 5-5 when we lost on away goals. I'm not sure. I don't fully remember that. Against Liverpool, we lost 3-0 in one of the legs, and then I think we lost 2-1 in the next leg, or we beat them 2-1. I think one was 3-0 and the other was 2-1. And then even against Spurs, they scored 4 goals against us over the 2 legs. And this I'm giving you our one-off games. Like one game in this season in the Champions League run, one game in this season in the run, one game in this season in the run. But this entire season in the Champions League, we've conceded 3 goals across the entire competition. 1 in the group stage, 1 against Leipzig, and 1 against the last team we played. What was the last team we played? Why is it slipping me now? Bayern Munich. Yeah, 1 against Bayern Munich, the penalty. So we've conceded like 3 goals this entire Champions League campaign, versus our defense in the last season would be conceding 4, 5, and 6. So and that's per game, like not per game, but this is one game in that season, and we would have conceded throughout that season in other games. So if you look at how we're playing this season now in the Champions League, we're still scoring goals. We're still up there as one of the teams scoring the most goals, and we have one of the best defense. I think we do have the best defense at this stage in the season right now. Previously, it was Bayern Munich before we played them, but we were the one that messed up their record so that we surpassed them. So I think this season is going to give us a much better opportunity at winning the league playing in this style and fashion versus previous seasons where we would be playing a bit more open. Us pressing leaves us more tired, And it also helps create more space when we're rearranging our positioning on the field, fighting to get the ball back. So us being more pragmatic now, letting the teams have a little bit more of the ball, trusting our defense, our back three defense, led by Ruben Diaz, knowing that we have Rodri and Stones ahead of them, dropping back into like a five back at times, a four back at times, defending and cancelling out opportunities that other teams might have. If you want to understand what I mean, just watch that first game, that first leg against Bayern Munich, because they had so much of the ball. I think they had just as much as we did, and or maybe even a little bit more than us. And they were going at Akanji and Ake. They were going at them fully. They were switching Coleman and Sane. They were switching them back. Nabry didn't have an absolute sniff. I don't even remember one thing Nabry did in that match, because this system just nullifies false nines. And if you want to look at the best team in Europe or in the Champions League that plays with a false nine, Real Madrid. So I think our current system counters what they try to do a little bit, because wingers don't get as much joy against us as they normally would, and a false nine doesn't exactly get as much joy against us as they normally would either. Given Karim Benzema is a different beast than Gnabry is, so we actually have to see it play out on paper first. And I do fear that we make that Etihad game a bit tougher if we do get a win in this match. But I expect us to. I know I do think we can win the match, but I don't think it is going to be a win, if that makes sense. We can win, but I don't expect it to be a win. I expect it to be a draw, personally. But I can see how we could go in and win or lose this match as well. But I do think it will be a draw, and I would take a draw. I definitely would take a draw. So that's that. I think this pragmatic system is going to be good for us. Seeing that it doesn't stop us from creating chances as we do, and we do have players like Grealish and Bernardo Silva who are very patient on the wings. Like, they'll get the ball, recycle it if they can't take this move. They'll take you on several times over and over and over, and they'll basically grind you down until they get the opportunity as to where their eyes bright up and they can get a ball into the box, or they can get a ball to the edge of the box at a cross, or they can get dribble and get the ball in, maybe win a penalty or a free kick in a dangerous area. Like, they'll be definitely getting assistance. Gundogan generally drifts over to that left hand side to help Grealish. So you'll see him actually overlapping Grealish a bit. You'll see him underlapping Grealish a bit, giving him options in all of these areas so that Grealish can sometimes get into this area where Gundogan would be, and they'll switch things around. But definitely the team, they have a lot of fluidity in this formation, and I absolutely love it, because I know Pep Guardiola loves versatile players, because one player can cover multiple positions, but at the same time he can make in-game tactical tweaks with the same team that is on the pitch by having them take up different positions on the pitch and playing different roles for a certain specific play. And that in itself will help us create more opportunities and be a bit more confusing to the opposition. So that in itself is a massive advantage that we have. And just like Gundogan and Grealish will have that partnership on the left side, you can expect De Bruyne to do the same exact thing with Bernardo Silva. So, and do never count out Rodri and Stones, even though they are playing in like a defensive midfield position. They definitely contribute to that offense as well. So do not count them out. Even though it's in theory 5 attackers and 5 defenders in terms of the main contributions they'll be doing. If we lose the ball from a Gundogan or a Kevin De Bruyne or even a Grealish or a Silva, Rodri and Stones are already back right in front of the back three. So even if you're on a break, like at best you're looking at 3 defenders that are already there, and you know that Rodri and Stones are right there behind you, like, or they're already in front of you, and you're looking at 5 immediately. So this formation, I think, for me, I think this is the best that Pep has arranged since he's been here. Like, I'm not sure where the strengths of Real Madrid are going to come into play for this. And if we can somehow get past Bayern Munich and Real Madrid in the same campaign back to back, that is going to be a massive, massive step for us getting this Champions League trophy. Because if we get to the final from here and we put in convincing performances against Real Madrid over 2 legs, I think whichever Italian team will get in the final, they'll be looking at us with that in the back of their mind and be worrying. Because in terms of footballing ability, of course they'll back themselves, but they'll know exactly the dangers that we have and we are coming with. And if you pair that with the fact that we have beaten two massive European giants back to back, on top of that, I think that on the mental side of the game, we'll already have a fair beating of them. So what's left is for us to just go and execute, and then we'll have that fight, knowing that the last time we were here in the final, we did not do ourselves any real justice. In my opinion, like I think we let ourselves down. I think we didn't create enough in that final. I think Sterling, in my opinion, is most at fault for how that game turned out. I think he had a negative impact on us, as well as being ghost in some opportunities. So I know some people have told me before that his role is further than I was looking. He was actually taking Reece James out of the game because he was the one who was causing us problems in previous times we played Chelsea in the season. But I think like having even a Phil Foden in that position where Sterling was on that left wing on that day, we create so much more chances because Sterling was not in form. Every time I saw him got the ball, he lost it. Reece James was just bullying him for the entire game, and even though Reece James had his handful with Sterling, he did just bully him for the whole game. So it didn't work. Is what I'm trying to say. Like even if he had a specific role, it didn't work. So we lost the game, and that's that. I think we let ourselves down, and if we get back to the final, we definitely have a massive job to do, and this team owes it to the fans, most definitely, that were in Porto that year, to give them something to cheer for this year. And I've already said before in a previous video, I want a Poznan. I want a Champions League final Poznan, because if I see that happen, I'm putting that everywhere. That's my Twitter bio. I'm posting it every day. Not bio. My Twitter profile picture. I'm posting it every day on my Twitter and on my Instagram. And you'll probably see it here on YouTube as well. You'll probably see it as a thumbnail for every single Champions League preview that I'm doing. Because I will be milking that picture if I ever... Oh my God. God, please. If I ever see a Champions League final Poznan, that's it. That's it for the rest of the rival fans. Because, trust me. But anyways, that is what I have on my preview for Real Madrid. My prediction for the game is 1-1. I do think that Real Madrid would be fine with that based on what I'm hearing from a Madrid fan. I had the pleasure of hearing from recently, I think yesterday. He was basically saying Real Madrid is a team that they prefer the second legs. They like to get their jobs done in the second leg, regardless of if it's at home or not. So that's the type of mentality they have. They don't even look at home and away. They look at away fans, atmosphere as another push to them. So it's basically like they're playing at home. Basically, that's the type of mentality they have in the Champions League. They know what they are. They know that they are that team that has all the heritage and 14 Champions League trophies. They aren't here to mess around, regardless if they are at home and away. So if we get a 1-1 draw at the Bernabeu, they'll have that same confidence coming into the second leg that they want to win this game, just as much as if they had a 2-0 win at the Bernabeu coming into this game. They want to still come back and win it. So in my opinion, that still works into our favor, and what that does is just make an absolute spectacle of 2 legs. Just like I was saying ahead of the Bayern Munich clash, I knew that both games are going to be an absolute spectacle, like prime heritage football that everyone would want to tune into. I think those 2 games were 2 of the biggest games of the season so far, and I think these 2 legs have that same exact potential, or potential to even surpass that. So I think this will be an absolute massive game, and I'm going for 1-1. I think big man Earl will get us the goal, and then we'll take it back to the Etihad ahead of the home fans. Hopefully that ticket fiasco will not cause too big of an issue, but I do think that we'll get the job done at home as well, because we have learned over the past few years, and we have beaten Real Madrid at the Bernabeu before. We have done the double over them in 2 Champions League legs. So I don't see why we can't get a draw away and then beat them at home. And I'm sure you guys have seen our home record this year in general and or our home record in the Champions League over the last couple of years, and I can tell you both of them. This year in the at the Etihad, we have scored 49 goals. I'm not sure if that's Premier League or all comps, but we have scored 49 goals at the Etihad this year, I've heard. And regarding the Premier League, I think since 2023, we have won every single match at the Etihad. We haven't drawn or lost any game at the Etihad this year. And as it relates to Europe, in European competitions, we have a 25 game unbeaten streak in the Champions League. So definitely big congratulations to the team for that. Big up the whole on ourselves. Like all of the players who played for Manchester City during that time. I think that record spans back to 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So that is a massive achievement. Etihad is a fortress. I've been telling people to put some respect on the Etihad, please and thanks. You know. So I do know that I do fully believe that if we do get back to the Etihad in touching distance, even if we lost like 1-0 at the Bernabeu or by 1 goal at the Bernabeu in any scoreline arrangement, I do think I would still be fully confident coming back at the Etihad that we make it to the final. So that's my thoughts on this Champions League tie. I hope that we can get the job done. It's massively important and imperative that we can get to our second ever Champions League final. This is our third semi-final in a row, and that breeds consistency in this